Good evening, everybody. I'm Seth Meyers. This is Late Night. We hope you're doing well. And now, if you don't mind, we're going to get to the news. President Trump participated in the National Thanksgiving Turkey presentation at the White House and pardoned both turkeys Gobble and Waddle. And then, like everyone else he pardons, they were both rearrested on weapons charges. That's right. President Trump participated in the annual Thanksgiving turkey pardoning, passing out pardons to Gobble, Waddle, and Ghislaine. While speaking to journalists yesterday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt pushed back on reports that the Trump administration is favoring Russian demands during peace talks to end the war in Ukraine. Said Leavitt, "We've been speaking with President Putin, as well as the other guy whose name escapes me. I want to say Kevin something." McDonald's recently announced they will release a new Grinch meal inspired by the title character from the Dr. Seuss story. The way it works is you pay $5.99 and then you just steal food from a little girl. The New Jersey Hall of Fame over the weekend held its annual induction ceremony. And congratulations, once again, to Sausage and Peppers. The mayor of Medford, Massachusetts, recently announced a new waste removal program which will reduce trash pickups to once every 2 weeks. But it's Massachusetts, so bottle recycling is still every day. An Italian man is reportedly under investigation after he allegedly dressed up as his dead mother in order to collect her pension in what local authorities have described as a, quote, Mrs. Doubtfire scandal. Well, one thing's for sure, I completely misinterpreted Mrs. Doubtfire. Next, you're going to tell me that Bosom Buddies was about the Menendez brothers. Finally, according to a new survey, half of Americans said that they've already have a conversation survival game plan for the holidays. Now they just have to decide between indica and sativa. And that was a monologue, everybody. We got a great show for you tonight. He's an iconic actor, writer, and filmmaker whom we all love in so many amazing films and TV shows. He's currently starring in This World of Tomorrow, playing now through December 21st at the Sheds Griffin Theater here in New York City. You guys, Tom Hanks is here. Yeah, that one. And he's a very funny comedian, actor, and of course, the creator and co-host of the wildly successful podcast Las Culturistas. His Christmas in December tour kicks off December 3rd in Los Angeles. Matt Rogers, our friend Matt Rogers is here. We did a family trips Thanksgiving a listener episode, so do give that a listen wherever you get your podcast. You guys, moving on. There's a lot going on in MAGA world this week. 2 prosecutions against the president's political enemies were thrown out. One of the most visible MAGA supporters in the country is resigning from Congress, and the president has started dressing like a professor of English lit at Swarthmore. Now let's turn to page 475 and see what Nicholas Nickleby has been up to. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. The president participated in the annual tradition of pardoning a turkey today. And let me start by saying, no matter who the president is, this is a weird tradition. But as weird as it is, Trump can always make it weirder. Again, this was supposed to be a turkey pardoning ceremony.
This was a big day. It's a pardon day for a very important beast. I have determined that last year's turkey pardons are totally invalid, and I am officially pardoning them. Gang members, drug dealers, they poured in to our country like we were stupid people. We're not stupid people anymore. I won't tell you about murders. We're having murders, like a lot of murders. I don't talk about people being fat. The governor is a big fat slob. You can walk with your family down the middle of any street, go to a restaurant, you won't get in. We have a department of everything. You know what that is? I think that's called the White House. The pardons of about every other person that was pardoned other than where's Hunter? No, Hunter's was good. That was the one pardon, Pam, that was good, right? The rest of them are all invalid. I don't know what the hell you're going to do about that, but that's, now we're going to take a little of the joke, and that is a mess.
I think those turkeys were standing there being like, just kill us. Put us out of our misery. Also, don't say the word Hunter near some turkeys. You're going to freak them out. They don't follow politics. They don't know what you're talking about. They're going to think this whole thing is a trap. Damn it, Gobble. I told you this pardon thing was bull. He doesn't have legal jurisdiction over birds. By the way, you guys, it did get weirder than what we already showed you when he started talking about the turkey's diet.
Despite their size, Secretary Kennedy has formally certified that these are the first ever Maha turkeys. I don't know if I agree with that. These are Maha. In other words, they could be fat, but they're still Maha. They've been fattened on a steady diet of grass, beef, to allow the smoothies and all of the other things that they've been eating for this occasion.
It def sounds like you still plan on eating them. We fatten them up for this pardon, and then, of course, the next step, we will baste them for justice. By the way, I think the turkeys were getting suspicious, too, because Trump was supposed to pardon 2 turkeys, but when the time came, there was only 1 present.
Let's go and give Gobble, Waddle. Waddle, by the way, is missing in action, but that's okay. We'll pretend Waddle is here.
Couldn't keep track of 2 turkeys? Sounds like you either ate him for lunch or he got the out of there when you started talking about fattening him up. As we speak, he's fleeing across the Mexican border. But the pardoned turkeys aren't the only ones to escape the president's clutches. You might remember that Trump has also been demanding prosecutions of his human political enemies, like when he posted a very weird social media rant addressed directly to his Attorney General, Pam Bondi.
He wrote, quote, "Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times, exclamation point. Over nothing. Justice must be served now, all caps. President DJT."
All right, first of all, you don't have to end your post with President DJT. This isn't Gossip Girl. We know it's you. No one read that and thought, wait, why is Ernest Hemingway posting a letter to Pam Bondi? We can tell it to you from the syntax. There would be no mystery if you ever sent a message in a bottle. Look, some tattered parchment in a glass. I wonder who it's from. It says, "Dearest Pam, you are my betrothed. I covet no other paramours, and if you hear otherwise, it was a scam. Hoax, ? Made up by Shifty Schiff and the Democrats." Also, why are you posting social media messages to your Attorney General when you can just meet with her at the White House? I don't remember Jimmy Carter ever taking an ad out in the newspaper that said, "Walter, will you be my vice president?" So that joke requires you to know that Walter Mondale was Jimmy Carter's vice president. And if you laughed at that joke, that means it's time to schedule your glaucoma screening. This has been Late Night Health Tips, brought to you by Acorn Stairlifts, now with rocket boosters. Now, many speculated at the time that the post was actually supposed to be a direct message to Bondi, which I personally thought was impossible. Why would the president DM a cabinet member? But it turns out it was supposed to stay private.
We are learning in new reporting from the Wall Street Journal that Donald Trump intended to send a personal private text to his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, but what he actually composed instead of a text and what he actually sent was a social media post that became available to the entire world. The Wall Street Journal reports Trump believed he had sent Bondi the message directly, addressing it to Pam, and was surprised to learn it was public.
Wait, so he also writes like that in his text messages? This reminds me of when my grandma used to post messages to me on her Facebook wall. So Trump was caught publicly demanding his enemies be indicted, which did not bode well for the cases. And sure enough, this week, those cases were thrown out of court.
Breaking news as the Justice Department has hit a major roadblock in its prosecution of President Trump's perceived political enemies. A judge has dismissed the cases against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James.
We've been waiting on Truth Social to see if President Trump himself responds. I mean, you have to keep in mind just how involved the White House and the president himself has been in all of this.
What was President Trump's reaction to those indictments against Comey and James being thrown out?
His reaction was, we've seen this before.
I don't think that was his reaction. We've seen how he writes his private messages. I'm guessing when he heard the news, he yelled so loud you could hear it over the excavators tearing down the East Wing. They probably had to stop work. Hey, oh, Tony, you hear that noise? Yeah, what the hell was that? I don't know. All I heard was a scream followed by someone shouting the words, "President, DJT." Oh, that could be anybody. And yes, the construction workers in that made-up scenario are from New Jersey. I don't think all construction workers are from New Jersey. I just think that's who Trump would hire. He knows he can trust them. You know, he would be happy. He'd say, all right, boys, tear the whole thing down, and when you're done, dump it in the East River. I don't want to pay the carting fees. But the failed indictments are the least. Talked a lot about carting fees today, and someone over there was right, and someone here was wrong. But the failed indictments, they're just really, trust me. If you could save money on carting fees, save your money. But the failed indictments are the least of Trump's problems. His allies in Congress are bailing as their poll numbers tank, with one especially high-profile departure.
Just moments ago, the Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene posted on her X account the announcement she's resigning.
This all follows the public fallout Greene's had with the president in recent weeks. In a social media post this morning, President Trump wrote, Greene is resigning because of, quote, plummeting poll numbers.
Marjorie, quote, Trader Brown, because of plummeting poll numbers, has decided to call it quits. For some reason, primarily that I refused to return her never-ending barrage of phone calls, Marjorie went bad. Nevertheless, I will always appreciate Marjorie and thank her for her service to this country. Signed, President DJT.
First of all, stop trying to make DJT happen. You're not a point guard for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Nobody's gonna call you DJT. Your name will always be Trump. Trump just sounds how you look. It's like an onomatopoeia for the sound you make when you sit down in a golf cart. Trump. Also, you can't call someone a traitor and say they went bad and then say you appreciate them and thank them for their service. That's why there's not a section in the Hallmark store for ass, you know? But the real concern is what will come next. Republicans are worried Greene won't be the last to skip town, and then more resignations will follow.
She's almost like a canary in a coal mine. And this is something inside Congress they better wake up, because they're going to get a lot of people retiring.
One senior Republican told Punchbowl, quote, this entire White House team has treated all, that's in all caps, all members like garbage, all. This senior House Republican goes on to say more explosive early resignations are coming. It's a tinderbox. Morale has never been lower.
It has become, and has been for a long time, a bad workplace.
If they don't bend the knee to Trump, then they get a flacking from the MAGA base. They get harassed online, they get harassed in their districts at town halls, and then they have a primary challenger that becomes extremely dirty and nasty. So I don't blame them for wanting to retire and not have to put up with that.
Being a Republican member of Congress sounds like a terrible job. Either you bend the knee to Trump or you refuse and he sicks his MAGA followers of you. I mean, just look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. Even she couldn't stay on Trump's good side, and she once dressed like a waitress at a MAGA-themed Applebee's. Mapplebee's, obviously, that's what you call it. That outfit was so insane, it got this reaction from Joe Biden. He looks like one of the turkeys listening to Trump's speech. By the way, say what you will about the Democrats, they have many problems, but they never had this problem. Democrats ran their own nominee for president off the ticket. Joe Biden never called anyone up and said, hey, listen here, Jack, if you don't want to do what I say, I'm going to sick the Biden boys on you. Who's the Biden boys? They're like MAGA, except they're old guys from Scranton. They move real slow. They might not look strong, but trust me, they've been
fattened on a steady diet of grass beef.
This has been a closer look.